everybody, and welcome back to Charm to Perfection. My name is Siobhan Adams, and I want to thank you all for following me on this journey to become the best version of myself while holding each other accountable and supporting everyone. First and foremost, I want to apologize to everyone for not being consistent in the videos. This year has been a crazy year for myself and for my family, and basically for those around me. And just from the different updates on people's Facebook posts, this to me is honestly a year. I hate to sound so harsh, but a year of death. I have not seen so many deaths in my entire life, from the amount of deaths that we had for this year in my family. It literally seemed like every month of this year, we have had a death in our family, or maybe a close family friend. And by the grace of God, we've gotten through May. However, we had to bury my cousin in May. So I definitely want to have a moment of silence for all of those who may have lost a loved one, for those who have lost their life due to COVID-19, like my cousin, and for other illnesses that may have caused death in your family, or whatever the case may be. So I just want to give a moment of silence for that. Thank you. So it's so funny because when we go through things, we can look at it as an opportunity or we can look at it as a setback. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. There were a lot of people who passed away this year, from two uncles, an aunt, a cousin in the beginning of the year, a childhood friend who was actually murdered in the beginning of this year, another cousin, extended cousin who passed away in February. It's just been a hard year. And when I got the phone call, it took me from, I guess, by surprise, like, wow, this really happened. And it came out of nowhere, really. He actually passed, my cousin Brandon Green actually passed from COVID-19 at the age of 38, married with two kids, worked for the United States Post Office, very hardworking, just one of the people that would always answer my call, no matter what time of day it was, no matter if he was working, delivering mail. I said he delivered mail in the area in which I lived, so I would invite him over to eat my leftovers, and he would tear them up too. But it was a shocker for me. It was a shocker for me, but it did something to me that I thank God for. Um, oh God, my tears. Sorry, you guys. It did something to me. It made me realize that, one, charm to perfection is something that I need to be consistent with. Charm to perfection is something that a lot of people need. I want to thank Allison Jones for constantly calling me and sending me text messages like, "We are waiting on another video." My friend Wesnell Paul, one of the few guys that do follow Charm to Perfection, who basically said, "We're waiting on the video. What's going on?" And I definitely want to apologize. I wasn't ignoring you guys. I just had to reevaluate myself. I had to reevaluate a lot of things that were going on in my life, um, because it was just like, wow, one day we're here and the next day we're gone. And it's no coming back from that. It hit me really hard, for the day immediately happened. The first thing I knew to do was to cook. I have a huge family. I'm like, you know what? I got to get my nerves together, and cooking does that for me. It makes me calm down. It kind of put peace and joy inside of me. So I was able to do that, and for people to enjoy it, which makes it actually a whole lot better. Um, but I really want to be as open and honest as I can, um, because I feel like God makes everything happen for a reason. During this time, like I said, I have a big family, and I'm gonna be honest. I probably got into it with every last one of them. Just being honest, um, particularly on my mom's side, and that's what I'm referencing to. But when my cousin passed away, um, it seemed like everybody put aside their differences. Everybody put aside, it was just like love was in the air. And, the funny part about it is that phase two is dropping away of offensiveness and unforgiveness. And I think that's what's going to make these next couple of weeks more powerful, because I wasn't forgiven. I was not forgiven, and I constantly stayed offended. Um, Even though I would like push it to the side and still interact, as soon as that same offense came back up, it made me feel like, wow, there they go again. There they go again. And so it was crazy, because now I'm like, you know what? It was I think the day of the funeral, I'm not sure, but I stood in the middle of the floor because I felt like I needed to do this. I stood in the middle of the, oh God, I stood in the middle of my auntie's living room floor, and I asked the entire family to forgive me. And I asked them to forgive me for not being forgiving. Because your emotions, again, from phase, sorry, y'all, your emotions become your habits. And that emotions of hurt, the emotions of being offended and not forgiven, I had to ask them to forgive me for not being forgiven. I said, you know what? No matter what y'all do, I know y'all love me. I know y'all love me. And it's me that need to change. I said, if I want to change the world, I must change myself. So I have to let go of being unforgiven. And it's a process that, honestly, I'm not going to say I felt like I mastered, but I really believe that it's something that I think gave me a blueprint on how to move forward in the next step of trying to perfection, with dropping away of unforgiveness and offensiveness. Um, so, and it was crazy because, immediately my auntie Vanessa, I call her Auntie Nessa. She's like, girl, please, we don't care about your crazy stuff. We love you. I mean, you get on our nerves, but we love you, you know? And what I realized is that sometimes the offensiveness comes from different characters, right? Sometimes offensiveness comes from unresolved conversations. And that night, I just said, you know what? I need to have different conversations with people. I I didn't even, okay, you probably like the day of the funeral. Yeah, the day of the funeral, because I felt like God put it on my heart to do it, and I had to be obedient. So the day of the funeral, I had a conversation with a cousin. I had a conversation with a couple of cousins. You know, I think my auntie Sandra, I think we're much alike, um, she's very high on education and things of that sort. She was a teacher. And when we all went to college, um, my going to college was kind of different, because my father took all of his kids to college, but he never took me. Um, because, to be honest, he said I wasn't going to be nothing in life. Um, because I was opinionated, headstrong, didn't agree with him all the time. And my auntie Sandra, my grandmother, and my mother scrambled to get me to FAMU. Oh, can y'all see that? Yeah. I didn't even mean to come. I didn't mean even to say that, but since FAMU's on the map, I might as well go ahead and say it. I don't know. And it was hard. I got to college. I didn't, my luggage was lost. I didn't have no money. I didn't have nothing. Literally, they dropped an 18-year-old girl from Cleveland, Ohio, in Tallahassee, Florida, and said, go. And I had to go. But one thing about it was my auntie Sandra called the bookstore and told them, like, here, I want to pay for her books and do this and do that. And I used to hold this grudge against her over some flip-flops. Over some flip-flops that I couldn't see the greatness that she did to make sure that I had that foundation or had something to keep me going at FAMU so that I can graduate. I literally held the biggest grudge with her. But when my cousin passed away, I said, you know what, it's time to let this all go. It's time to really start letting go unforgiveness and letting go offensiveness and dropping that weight, because it holds you back. And so in phase two, we're going to begin to get to the root of it all. I mean, unforgiveness of self, unforgiveness of others, and God. Because some people don't want to, admit it, but sometimes people in situations, they got to realize they don't even forgive God. I know for me, when my mother passed away, it was hard for me to forgive him. I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want to pray. I didn't want to read. I didn't want to do absolutely nothing. But see, what people don't realize is that when you holding that weight of offensiveness and unforgiveness, it weighs you down, because forgiveness is not something that you give to someone else. Forgiveness is actually a gift that you give to yourself. Now, let me say that again for the people in the back. Forgiveness is a gift that you give yourself. So when what I realize is when you hold on to that pain, when you hold on to the people that caused that pain, when you even hold on to the memory of the pain, you are only hurting yourself. So phase two will help to practice forgiveness daily in life. I just want to warn everybody that people will not stop hurting you. Situations will not stop disrupting your life. However, we must figure out what to do when you can't forget what happened. We need to figure out what to do when the person or people keep offending you. Do you keep coming around? Do you check them? Do you have a conversation? What do you do? Because you're still gonna get offended, and I still have been getting offended. But I think right now I'm actually handling, to truth be told, since that day, I'm handling the offensiveness differently than I would before. Um, and don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect by far, and it's a work in progress, but it's a work worth doing. So phase two will help us to learn this technique, especially if it's as hard for you as it is and was. Because like I said, when I stood in front of my family and asked them to forgive me for not forgiving them, it did something to me. It gave me a gift that I'd been needing for a very long time. And so this phase is going to help you to stop giving people in situations power over your decisions and your life. Now, I actually found a book that we are going to be reading. And I would, want to go ahead and give it to you. I found this because I was looking for a book to go with each phase. Because part of, becoming the best version of yourself is actually educating yourself. And, put the TV down, the social media, and let's begin reading. So the title of this book is called Forgiving What You Can't Forget. It's by Lisa Turkhurst. It's I'm just going to read the back for you so you can understand, have a little bit about what the book is. Again, this is a book that I found that I thought would go great with this phase. If you happen to find another book that you might be interested in because you're not interested in that, that's good. It's really the accountability that I would love to bring to this. And also, just making sure you're reading something to educate yourself. But it says, "Dear friend, I understand deeply and personally how hard it is when someone does something unchangeable that also feels unforgivable. I've cried countless tears and wrestled through so many questions. What if it feels like forgiveness won't actually fix anything? Does forgiveness mean I have to be in a relationship with that person again? Is it even possible to forgive if they're not sorry for what they did? If you can relate, you're in the right place. Within these pages, your heart will be tenderly held. Your thoughts don't need to be edited. Your resistance is understood. But there are some biblical perspectives to consider that have finally brought peace into my life. And I want the same for you. That pain you've been living with, those unresolved feelings of angst. You deserve to stop suffering because of what other people have done to you. And if no one else has ever said they're sorry for your deep pain, I will. My heart breaks for what breaks so many of us. So let me take your hand and lead you through how forgiveness is not only possible, but it's one of the most healing decisions to embrace." I really believe we should all read that book. So I want us to read the first 3 chapters of Forgiving What You Can't Forget. And I believe there are, when I was going through the book to look at it, I think there are some, there are a bunch of scriptures in the book that would be actually helpful in, just learning how to drop that weight of offensiveness and unforgiveness. I think that's all I'm going to do for today. As you can see, you guys keep calm and pass the bar exam. I'm ready. I'm ready to be the best version of myself. I'm ready for people to look at me and see light and no longer see darkness. I'm ready for people to ask, like in the Old Testament, I think it was Ruth and Mara. I think her name was Mara. Ruth was the daughter-in-law. I'm not sure. I'm not a Bible scholar, but I do remember the story. And um, the daughter-in-law was like, "Wherever you go, I go. Whoever your God is, I want to follow." And that's how I want my life to be. I want people to see me as a light, an inspiration, and just live a purposeful life. I thank you all for tuning in. Um, I just want to say my condolences to anyone who have lost anyone this year, because when I tell you it has been that type of year, 7 people in my family or close friends in 1 year. I've never had this many deaths in my life, but I just want to thank you all. And again, I want to thank my auntie Sandra, because if it wasn't for her, you guys wouldn't even be seeing all of this FAMU attire. And of course, God was there too. I definitely want to give him the honor and the praises. But I will see you all next week, and we'll go from there. Guys, have a great day.